in this video based on this image, which is the haplotype tree. And haplotype tree is about the whole genome, so about all chromosomes and about the whole of the genome. So it's the most important and complete information possible. You will find very few research about it because it's so complex. It's 200 and so much million alleles. So based on this massive information, and without a minimum of human interpretation, we will illustrate that there is no out of Africa and that instead there is out of Americas. In fact, this image, haplotype tree, will not prove this. That is proven by the ancestral markers. Here is the word ancestral. This is the ancestor of all humans, the whole DNA of it. This is a timeline, green, more recent, until green, oldest, until the more recent haplotype. These are all haplotypes on the timeline. B006 is a haplotype that includes the Neanderthals, the Denisovans, and possibly Homo erectus. So it is at least 600,000 years old, but it could be over 2 million years old. So, for instance, this one could be 100,000 or could be 2 million years more recent than this one. So what we see is the frequency. It goes from 0 to 100. From 0 to 100, this is close to 50, the frequency of 50. And this is the highest frequency, 50. You see that for Africa, the frequency of this haplotype is under 10%. Africa is a massive continent. Next to it, we have Asia or the Americas in size. So the mass of the first line, the first change in our ancestral whole genome took place in the Americas. Then secondary in Europe, in the third place in Asia, and in the fourth place in Africa. So the first line, the oldest line, is the line of the Neanderthals. Is the oldest, so defines out of what continent. So the ancestor, and next out of the Americas, not out of Africa. Where does this 10% haplotype, Neanderthal haplotype, comes from? Well, it could come from the Americas. It could come from other continents. Anyhow, it's not an exclusive out of Africa. The fact that the highest frequencies is in Americas also means that the highest frequency of our ancestor was in the Americas. So this haplotype, B006, which includes the Neanderthals, proves the ancestral markers that all point to the Americas. It certainly doesn't come out of Africa. In fact, we know that. But we neglect what it proves. The ancestor was in the Americas and produced or evolved into Neanderthal, B006. And from there on, it could spill over, because in fact we claim that B006 is made for mining, or is, let's say, is a class that is active in mining. So they will go to other continents to mine. That's why you find a Neanderthal-like fossil, a number of Neanderthal-like fossils in Jebel Irhoud, which is close to the coast, to the current that brought them there, and they are found in mines, just as most other Neanderthals, just as all other oldest African fossils. So you see here, there's quite a portion of Africa, but it's later. It was already out of the Americas, and then there was a relatively high frequency in Africa, but in a much smaller Indonesia, Polynesia, there was an even higher frequency. So it doesn't prove out of Africa neither. The ancestral markers point out that it starts out in the Americas and spills over to Asia, to the west, and to Africa to the east. So even this line is the only line that Africa is almost dominant in frequency. In all others, Africa is not dominant, except in this one, but they don't prove out of Africa either, because in fact, nothing reaches out of Africa. So this proves out of Americas. This is in disfavor of out of Africa. And this is in disfavor of out of Africa. And again, the most recent haplotype, again, is it's Asia. Second and third place, Americas and Europe. So this is a frequency map of only one haplotype, the first, the oldest, B006, which includes Neanderthal and Denisovan, and very probably Homo erectus. But no DNA of Homo erectus was ever found, so it's not in any of the maps or whatever we are showing now. So, as claimed, very little presence in sub-Saharan Africa, and so this is Jebel Irhoud. So you see some frequency. Okay, Europe, especially this region, and especially present is North and South America. So very importantly, the difference between the first line, B006, Neanderthal, etc., and the ancestor is only 4 alleles difference. So do not expect our ancestor 600,000 or 2 million years ago to not be very similar to this haplotype. So in other words, very similar to Neanderthal, Denisovan, and modern humans. So it certainly will not be a chimpanzee or any other animal, it will be a human. It will be a human, a modern human.